Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today's video is Sussy Sunday, where we try and find the truth. Our first post comes from the relationship advice subreddit, posted by ThrowRally97. My mother tried to trick me, female 26, into joining my sister, female 31, for dinner after she tested me around her husband, male 31. This is actually crazy, and there's gonna be a lot of details, so please bear with me. My sister recently got married. It's been about 3 to 4 months. I didn't really see much of them after the wedding, honeymoon, and then back to work. But once a month, our family all gets together, and my parents host a huge feast. During this dinner, my brother-in-law was being extremely weird towards me. He was complimenting my body, ignoring my sister, and just straight up acting so strange. It was completely unexpected for several reasons. One being, his wife was sitting right next to me. 2, he's only been married a few months. Also, he's just never spoken to / about me like that before. I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm sure it transpired to the rest of the room, because what the hell? Except it was weird, because nobody was pointing anything out. I was extremely confused and just wanted to leave. I left early, but when I got home, I just felt so icky. I don't even know how to describe it. I decided to message my sister and let her know that his behavior made me uncomfortable. I told her that it was also concerning that he felt comfortable enough to say these things in front of my parents and brother. I explained that if she didn't feel comfortable being in the middle, I wouldn't mind explaining this to him myself. His behavior was so unnerving that I FaceTimed my boyfriend, who was away for work in the US. I told him it was weird and how suddenly my brother-in-law's behavior towards me went from that of a sibling to this horribly uncomfortable situation. He was pissed, and rightly so. My sister didn't respond to my text until the next day. She asked to meet up, so I did. I was expecting her to be upset and to have him apologize for what he said. Instead, she admits it was all a test and that I passed. I was confused, to say the least. What does she mean by test? Passed? Like, what's going on? Turns out, she had her husband do those things on purpose because she wanted to see how I'd react if he said those things to me and meant them. My reaction and choice to message her afterwards told her I could be trusted around him. Oh please, if she was keen to cheat with her hubby, she wouldn't try something in front of her and the whole family. What a dumb test. I was offended. Why would she think I couldn't be trusted? Well, let me tell you the, in my opinion, not very valid reason for this lack of trust. My sister has been married before. She was 27 and the divorce was about 10 months into the marriage. Her ex was a psycho, to say the least. He had known me longer than my sister. I was the one who had introduced them. They got along very well and eventually started dating. It looked like the healthiest and most romantic relationship to grace the planet Earth. Except when they got married. During their marriage, I was staying with them because it was closer to commute to work. They had extra bedrooms and I would pay rent and cook and clean for myself. My underwear, bras and panties would often go missing. It started off small. I just assumed they got mixed up with my sister's laundry and would turn up eventually. But it was happening more and more frequently to the point where I was buying extra underwear weekly. I kept pressuring my sister to admit that she was stealing my underwear, and she was adamant that it wasn't her. I decided to just ignore it and go about my day. Something I hadn't even considered as an option was the real reason. My former brother-in-law was stealing my underwear. I don't know, nor do I want to know what he was doing with it when I found out. But I was so disgusted and confused. Someone I thought was my friend was actually just a perv. He admitted that he'd never really loved my sister and was just using her to get to me. I was just so creeped out, and I pressed charges against him for his sickening behavior. I was able to get a restraining order, and my sister divorced him almost instantly after finding out. She used something traumatic that happened to me and flipped it to make it seem like I'm the one who was untrustworthy. She claimed I must have strung him along for him to think like that, and this was just a test to prove I wasn't doing it again. Safe to say, I was extremely hurt and angry by her response, so I told her to never speak to me or contact me again if that's what she really thought of me. My family found out and, for the most part, agreed that her behaviour is crazy. But my mother stood by her actions and said my sister was just trying to protect herself from being hurt again. I told her if she'd just been honest with me from the start, I wouldn't have been as bothered. There's a right way to approach things and a wrong way. This is just wrong. It's also crazy. Why was she so adamant that it's my life goal to hurt her? I didn't know that her ex was going to turn out like that, so why am I being punished? She claimed I should have had some indication that he liked me, but he really made it seem like he was head over heels for my sister. How am I supposed to know what's going on in someone else's mind? Anyway, the family dinner was earlier for this month, as it was the most compatible day for everyone's schedules. I told my parents to not expect me to show up if my sister and brother-in-law were going. It wasn't even because I refused to speak to her ever again. It was just because the situation was so fresh. I told my mother I would apologize when I cooled down a little. It was just difficult to face them when they made me feel like a horrible person for a situation that was out of my control. My mother assured me that my sister wouldn't attend, so I agreed to come. When I arrived, they were both there. It felt like an ambush, and it sort of was. My sister demanded that I apologize for my reaction because it was all my own fault that it happened in the first place. I can't lie, I snapped. I told her she should remove my number and title of being my sister if she really felt that way. I just need advice because my therapy isn't scheduled for another 2 weeks, and I feel like I just dreamt up a soap opera storyline. I feel kind of bad because I do understand that my sister had her trust completely broken by her ex, but I feel like that distrust shouldn't be aimed at me, but the person who actually caused it. I was the one who introduced her to the a-hole in the first place, so I feel guilty already for that. But I'm failing to see how her schemes to manipulate me into thinking she's being wronged by her husband once again is just too far extreme. I want to apologize to her for one reason, for ever introducing her to that man. I really need her to see that I wasn't trying anything when her ex was stealing my underwear. I was just as in the dark as her. How do I go about doing the above because I want to put this behind me and move on? I was just about healing from a former marriage, and now this one is also putting me in a very uncomfortable position. With my sister, my brother-in-law, and my own mother. Any advice on how to tackle apologizing and getting my sister's trust back? And showing her that I truly just want the best for her. Update. A lot has happened the last couple of days. I've tried to read all the comments and take in everyone's advice. This has been the outcome. I lost a sister and a mother in 2 days. It's heartbreaking more than anything. I had a meetup with everyone, and my boyfriend came with me, so I had support during the conversation. Honestly, it was hard to look at any of them for the way they treated me. I'm so thankful to everyone for opening my eyes to the crazy behaviour exhibited in the first part of this story. In front of everyone, my mother admitted to knowing about the plans from the start. My sister confided in her, and she agreed it was a good idea. She supported her son-in-law openly harassing her daughter. I'm in complete shock, and it just hurts so much knowing that she would condone this, considering she knew how much I was affected by the first husband. She knew I was having a difficult time in therapy. It took me a long time to trust people again after that, and I feel like, once again, my trust has been broken. I don't know how I'm ever going to trust anyone again. I'm really thankful to my boyfriend for being there to support me, because it was hard keeping my composure around them. My sister was not budging at all. She kept maintaining that she was in the right. She said the only reason I won't apologize is because deep down, I knew her ex was like that. She said I just liked getting attention from him knowing he was married to my sister. She also claimed that I overreacted and that if it's acting, then it's not harassment. I told her she shouldn't expect to be contacted by me until I receive the apology I deserve from both her and my brother-in-law. Speaking of, he was pretty silent throughout the whole thing, probably because my father threatened his life if he spoke bad about me. He did say that the only reason he did it was to placate my sister because she kept accusing him of oogling me, but still no apology from him. My mother, this one broke my heart the most. She told me I was over-exaggerating and that I should be happy to have passed my sister's test. She actually said the words, "We can all move on now." I was in complete awe, to be honest. How could she think that things would just go back to normal after this? I asked her why she was supporting such delusional behaviour. She said it was because she loved my sister and wanted her to be happy. I asked her if she loved me as much as my sister. She said yes. It seemed hesitant, but I don't want to read into that too much. I told her I wanted an apology for her schemes. She refused, so I gave her the same conditions I gave my sister and brother-in-law. Until I get an apology, I'm simply not speaking to all three of them. As a result, I'll also probably have to go low contact with my brother and my dad, because they both live with my mother. I mean, I'll hang out with them outside and without the presence of my mother, but if she'll let them is the question. I know some of you suggested spending time with my boyfriend's family on holidays and occasions. I haven't met my boyfriend's family before because they live in the US, but after this situation, I've taken 2 weeks paid holiday for the end of this month, and he's taking me to meet them for the first time. I hope it goes well, because they might be my only family I have now. Down in the comments, Who Ate Mary Kate says, "How does that shiny new spine feel? It suits you well. Don't speak to any of them until they apologise. F them, and enjoy spending your time with what I hope and assume is a much more welcoming family. Please keep us updated." Our last story comes from the Entitled People subreddit, posted by RocoVoltage46. Neighbour blames me for her husband's injury, even though she lets him wander with dementia. Hey everyone, I've got a story that really shook me up and has left me flabbergasted at how entitled some people can be. I live next to a couple in their 50s. The husband has dementia. It's really unfortunate to see him going through that. But here's where things go south. His wife, my neighbour, constantly lets him wander around unattended, often in my yard. Yesterday, I discovered him climbing on my shed in the back garden. Concerned for his safety, I immediately called my neighbour to come get him. She arrived but did nothing, just stood there watching as her husband then jumped off the shed and hurt his leg. I thought she'd be grateful that I looked out for him, but instead she called the cops, alleging that it was my fault that he got hurt because it happened in my yard. She was yelling and making a huge scene, saying I should have done more to prevent the accident. The officers were pretty understanding once I explained the situation and they saw my surveillance footage. They agreed it wasn't my responsibility to supervise her husband, especially when she lets him wander without any oversight. However, the nerve of this woman! She had the audacity to blame me for an incident that she could have easily prevented just by properly caring for her husband. The entitlement is just mind-blowing. Now I'm left wondering if I should install a fence or what measures I need to take to protect myself legally, because this is beyond ridiculous. Any advice would be appreciated. Wait, she stood there and watched as he climbed on top of a shed, and then when he got hurt, she made a huge scene and called the cops, because it happened in your yard and was your responsibility. Dude, she straight up intended this to happen. This lady wanted a payout. I bet she's one of those people that go to the shops, open a bowl of milk, and pour some on the ground, and then accidentally slip and try and sue the store. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.